The numbers do typically ramp up just after time, but it is 12:30. So in fairness to everybody, let's make a start. Hi, Simon. Okay, so very shortly, I'm going to hand over to Emma, but I just want to set the scene. Obviously, for the past few weeks, we've been running this as a sharing session with maybe a bit of a spotlight on resources. Well, those will continue, but what we're going to do is change them to fortnightly. And then in between, because we're very conscious that really we're not being able to run our workshops and those types of things, we want to be delivering some pertinent value to you all in the form of maybe some more extended presentations along the way. So, you know, we're going to be tapping into different elements of the AVN roadmap throughout. And today, Emma's going to take us through a more detailed presentation just around, well, as you saw from the email, really productivity and that overcoming that feeling of being overwhelmed, etc. as well. So lots more people joining us now. Emma, I don't think I passed you total hosting rights, so you might have to make yourself spotlight unless you're sharing your screen. So I will hand over to Emma, and yeah, that's me done.
Hi, welcome everybody. Lovely to see you all. So I'm going to share my screen because I have done some slides. I'm not usually somebody who does slides, but I know that people like to see stuff. So let's have a look, and I will share my slides. So I'm just going to put this in. So I'm hoping that you can all see my slides that say Classic Clarity Working Better Hours. Do we all see that?
Yep.
Fab. Okay, right. So, so I wanted today to talk about working better hours because it's been coming up more and more with people, you know, that they're stressed. When I first talk to new members, that's one of the biggest issues, is they're stressed. And it's not about working more or less hours, because some people want to work more, some people want to work less, but actually want to work better hours, be more focused in what we do. And to me, there are three areas. And the first one is to take control back of your time. You know, you've got to get back of it, because what happens is it runs away with us. And so for that, I think there's several things we need to do. First of all, you need to make it easy on yourself. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. You know, we sometimes make life so hard for ourselves, and we need to think about making life easy for ourselves. The second thing is to look after your number one client. And we all know that that's our own business. If our own business doesn't survive, what are we going to do? It has to be treated like a number one client. It has to be treated like our best client. So many people I talk to, you know, their own accounts are the last thing that gets done. When I talk to them and say to them, the first thing we need to do when we do clarity is get your numbers of where you are now and where you want to be. Just put in your accounts for the last year end. So many of them haven't managed to do it yet. Don't do their own management accounts. Don't look after their own numbers. So this is a focus thing. No matter what else is going on, you need to be looking at your own business first. Look after your number one client. And I know that's not natural for us. Most of us, you know, are much more focused at looking after other people. But if you think about your business, J Blogs & Co, as a client, then think about how you would look after that client. If you gave them your top level service, what would you do for them? And you need to do it for yourself. The third thing is to discover what you actually do. Okay, it's not what you think you do, but what you actually do. And the fourth is to discover what you actually want, because you can't, you know, you need to make sure that we are fulfilling what you want out of life. We need to deal with those thieves of time, those things that get in the way, that distract us, that cause us all sorts of problems. And we need to educate your team, okay? Because a lot of people tell me a lot of their time is spent with their team, which is great. That's their job, coaching and supporting their team, but not picking up for their team, not propping them up by doing stuff for them where actually they should be doing it themselves. And then we need to educate the clients, okay? And we've talked about this a lot in our other webinars, is about actually making sure clients understand that you are a business and being able to have business to business conversations, making sure that they are as respectful of your time as you are of theirs. So making sure about that. So I wanted to first of all point out you can't do everything. Please, I know we try, we really do try, but we can't do everything. And to me, one of the big things you need to do is think about when you're most productive. So I've been looking at actually about when in the hours in the day I am most productive. This was just a day last week when I was doing stuff, and you can see I've put that from 8 o'clock actually I'm quite good. 7 o'clock I'm not. I need an hour to come round, so that's just me. But 8 o'clock, 9 and 10, I'm actually quite lively and I can do a lot of work and I can be really focused. And once I get on something, I get really excited and into it and I do the work. 11 o'clock I have a little bit of a drop, and I've put myself as medium there. That's usually the time when I suddenly think, oh, I need a cup of tea, probably could do with a snack, need to go and stretch my legs. And that's probably a good point to change that. And then I come back and then I've got another couple of hours where I'm really high. After lunch, I have a couple of sort of mediums. So I'm not fabulous brain-wise focused, but I can do it. And then I noticed that at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I have a real slump in my energy. And so that's real challenging. It's weird though, that after that, I get another 2 hours where I'm quite good, medium, you know. And then as you can see at 8 o'clock at night, suddenly I felt like I needed to go to bed. Gosh, at my age, why should I want to go to bed at 8 o'clock? But that was how I felt. Suddenly my energy just fell through the floor and I wanted to go to bed. But then something weird happens, because if I stay awake another 2 hours, if I don't go to bed, then at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock, I suddenly start getting high again. And obviously I often find that if I get past that 10 o'clock watershed for me, then I can start getting really focused. And often, probably with like you, that's when my brain starts going crazy, which is not a good thing when you're going to bed. But when your brain suddenly comes up with all these great ideas and all these things you want to do, you know. And so I've been looking at a lot of research, and it basically says our energy levels have a natural ebb and flow through the day. Everyone's slightly different, but it's interesting that once the workday has begun, it does take a few hours to get into peak mode. Obviously, most people it's slightly different from mine. And after this, there is a decline in energy about 3 o'clock before coming back to 6. So you can see mine are slightly different. And that's the important thing, is probably one of the important things you could do is just for a little while, just monitor it and see what it is. And know at home we are slightly different from when we're at work. And that's important to plan that. Oh, sorry. I wanted to just bring to your attention actually 2 little things that I found. I found a great website called rescuetime.com, and that's a really good one for helping you measure how your energy level is in the day. And it's a little piece of software you can download. You can get your team involved. You can then work out when you're most productive. So that was nice. And also a second one here about increasing your energy levels. And guess what, folks? Most of it is avoid sugar, take some exercise, have some good sleep, make sure you have regular breaks, drink lots of water. We all know this stuff, but it's making sure that we continue to do it. Okay, so think about when you're most productive, because I want to make things easy for you. So why put ourselves through the pain of trying to do some really intensive work? For me at 4 o'clock, there is no point me doing intensive work on that day at 4 o'clock because my energy was too low. Okay, I need to think about what could I do there. Maybe that's when I could have done my emails, cleared out my emails for the last hour of the day, because actually I'd started to sort of ease off in some of my mental capacity for strength of focus. The second thing is thinking what you actually do. And I've got these 2 examples. So the top example there is probably what you think you do in the day. So you might say, okay, yeah, 8 o'clock, have a cup of coffee. Between 9 and 11 on a Monday, get a lot of work done. And then I've got a meeting at 11 till 12, then it's lunch. And then I can get lots of work done in the afternoon. So you block out all this time and that's our beautiful day. And then the second picture over here shows actually what happens is, yeah, while you're having your coffee, you're also checking your emails. When you start doing your work, guess what? You're checking your emails, you're answering some questions, you're checking your emails, you're answering some questions, all through the day. And there is a big issue here about emails, which I need to come back to, but actually some research says that we check our emails every 6 minutes. I mean, that's just insane. So, it's important to think about what you actually do. So what I always say to people is, in the Clarity Workbook, this is one of the first things we ask you to do, which is to understand where your time goes and keep a what I actually do diary. This isn't a timesheet. This is about what happens in your day that takes you out of what your plan was. So here's an example. My plan was probably to do some work at 3:15. I answered the phone when I was supposed to be reviewing a client's file. And actually, when I think about it, the phone call wasn't urgent and it wasn't important. They just rang me to ask me a question. And if I'd have thought about it, I could have had a system where somebody else could have taken a message or booked a time for a call. Now, what happened was that call took me 45 minutes. And by the time I'd finished getting that done, also getting my head back into doing the file, reviewing the file, could have been even longer. So that's how much time could I have saved if someone else had followed this system. So if somebody else could have just taken that message, answered that call, or booked a time in, that would have saved me another 45 minutes, okay? And I've put here, and then if you think about it, when you start reviewing a week, and so far this week, I've been interrupted 12 times for client calls. 12 times 45 minutes, that's 9 hours of my week suddenly disappeared from my plan. So being aware of it is really important, because the whole point is then if you understand what's happening, you can change it. If that one of those interruptions was team asking me where they need to find something on the system, again, yes, it was probably urgent and important, but you could have written a system for it that somebody could have done. Again, it might have only taken you 10 minutes to answer that. But what often happens is you go, okay, and you get up from your desk, you go over to the team member's desk, you show them where it is on the computer, you take over the desk, the laptop or the computer, and you show them where it is, and you do stuff. And then when you're up, you sort of stretch your legs and you come back. By the time you get back to your desk, it could be half an hour's gone. And yes, you need that break, that stretch, that's very nice, but that's not the break or stretch that actually helps you with your energy. It's something else, isn't it? You're doing something else. So thinking about this, where your time goes, how much you focus on it, and then thinking about what could you delegate, what could you automate. So a lot of the time we talk about, for example, teaching your clients to book calls with you, but what are you going to do? So thinking about what could you do it. So if you haven't done this before, if you haven't done your energy diary, if you haven't done the what you actually do diary, please do it, okay? It's really important, because it actually helps you stay so focused, because time just disappears from you. The next important thing is to discover what you actually want, okay? The whole point of your business is to deliver for you. So you need to ensure that your business is doing that. So again, if you haven't already done it, please go into System Builder and go to the goal setting tools. If you want, you can use the 24-hour action plan, which is the one that's for clients. You can always use it on yourself, okay? The important thing is to look at your personal goals, your work goals, and how you use your time. Because again, thinking about the future of your business, the structure, your role within that business is really important. So I want to make sure, Heather's just asked me how many days do you think I should actually do the diary over? Well, actually, I think you should do it at least over a week. Okay. And it's not about, like I said, it's not a timesheet. It's not about recording every single thing, but it's just being aware when you're interrupted, put it down. When you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. I had somebody who actually was like changing light bulbs and, doing things like that. That's ridiculous. Going back to the goal setting. Okay. In that 24-hour action plan, goal setting tool, there's a great thing about how you use your time. Your job as the business owner, okay, is to focus on running that business, doing only what you can do. So look at how you spend your time now, look at how it should be, and have that printed out in front of you, on your wall, in front of you, to remind you, so that when you're looking at stuff, you can say, is this helping me? Is this moving me towards my goal or not when I'm doing this job? Okay, and sometimes that can be hard. You're doing something for a client. Is this moving towards my goal? Yes, because this client is somebody who I want to continue working with. Yes, because actually they're generating profitable income for me. But if actually it's something that you're doing that isn't generating income, isn't helping a client, isn't growing your business, then why are you doing it? So again, if you haven't done this, please do it. It's really important that you focus on this sort of stuff. Okay. The next sort of thing is to deal with those thieves of time. A lot of people, I've just put this here because I found this quote off a website and I just had a freak. Workplace collaboration has exploded over the past decade, with studies saying many workers spend 80% of their day answering emails, in meetings or on calls. And that people check their emails or chat apps every 6 minutes or less. I was just like, oh my gosh. No wonder we don't feel like we ever got anything done by the end of the day, if we're constantly interrupting. And this becomes a habit. And part of that habit is because we're not sure what we should be doing. And for you and your team knowing what you are doing, being clear about what you are spending your time on is critical. It's really, really important that you understand what you're doing and have a focus and go, right, this is my issue. This is what I'm dealing with now. Okay. Be aware of interruptions. They are a massive thief of time, aren't they? Now, it depends where the interruptions are coming from. And I've already talked about interruptions from clients and managing that, managing your team's response to interruptions from clients, because you need to stay focused. The second interruption is from team, isn't it? And Shane has done a most amazing video on the initiative ladder, which is in System Builder, which explains really about the fact that, you know, although it's lovely to be consulted, yeah, you know, and we really want to help these people and we want them to grow, actually we should be helping them think about things for themselves to grow. We shouldn't just be parenting them. We should be helping them develop, and we should be helping them build, systemize stuff so that they can grow themselves. So there's a really great video in System Builder. Just type in ladder, it'll appear. And it's about encouraging your people and empowering them, and so that you get less interruptions. The third one is emails. Okay, we really need to be strict now about how we work with our emails. So I know a lot of people at the moment have got holding emails because they've been so inundated with emails from clients recently. Again, those holding emails need to be pleasant, and they need to have a way of that client being able to contact you or book a call in with you some way. Because for them, some things may be really urgent. It might not feel urgent to you, but it is to them. And so they have to have an able way of able to get into you. You know, they've got to have some focus to get to you. But the other thing is that you and your team need to be really strict about when you review emails. You need to switch off that pop-up that appears that says every time there's an email, and make sure that you do focus, because that research there, honestly, it's mind-blowing for me. I just can't quite get my head around it. Social media is another one. Okay, we know, okay, that our team are on social media on their phones. Okay, we are putting stuff on social media all the time, and it's amazing, isn't it, how you can go in. I can go on to LinkedIn and start reading a latest article by somebody, and then I scroll down and I read something else, and then I click through and I read something else, and you know, all of a sudden half an hour's gone. Facebook's even worse, isn't it? You know, we try and stay in touch with people, and Facebook is being used as well as LinkedIn and all the other social media platforms. And Facebook's a wicked thief of time. You can suddenly find you've been an hour and you suddenly, what happened there? So again, with your team, you need to just manage that with them. Not, you know, it's up to you whether you allow them to have access to social media. I think it's very hard to stop them with their phones these days, but you need to have some rules about it. And for example, switching off Facebook during your focused work time is important. I'm not saying switch it back off. You can switch it back on when it's your lunchtime, but in work period, you've got to stay focused. Switching that off is really important. And then meetings. So meetings can take a massive amount of time. So again, focusing on here, what is the outcome of the meeting? Some of these ones, as we're doing a lot of remote meetings, yes, there is an element of checking in, making sure people are okay. But now more than ever, we need to have agendas for our meetings. We need to be clear, what is the outcome? What is the action that's going to come out of it? What is the most important thing that needs to be happening? And then the other thing is, you know, just making sure that the right people are in the meetings. We don't need everybody's input for some things, okay? And I know that that might mean that other people feel left out. There is no reason why you can't have meeting notes shared between the whole team afterwards so they can see what happened, but you don't need everybody in every meeting. And the meetings that you have, keep them structured, keep them short, have a timer on them, you know, whatever it is, because again, what happens is you get meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting happen. So why is it important? Why do you need that meeting? What is the outcome? Important with the outcome, what is the action that you expect to be taken afterwards? So we don't have meetings for meeting's sake. Again, they steal so much of our time. It's really important that other people accept your timescales. And part of this is to do with language. So I just wanted to bring out a couple of bits. Often we feel bad because we can't sort of put to ourselves, and we can't do that until Friday. Feels a bit like a bit confrontational, a bit challenging. Instead, say to me, I can do that on Friday. but I can't do it before. It's like, okay, when people call, I'm helping another business owner at the moment, but I'll be available tomorrow at 10. Can you make that time? And that business owner could be you. That could be working on your business. Or, thank you for calling me and sharing the issue. I'm helping another business owner at the moment, but I'm available later at 3 p.m. Can you make that time for a more in-depth chat? Find some scripts that help you do that. If it's something you really have a problem with, then please talk to your practice growth expert, okay, about coming up with some scripts, some language that you can use, that you feel comfortable, that's your language, but making people accept your timelines rather than you running to them. Because what happens with so many of our clients is everything appears urgent. I've noticed so many people are bringing in their year-end accounts early and saying, right, I want those done. And they might never, in the past, not brought them in for another 6 months. So in your normal workflow, you wouldn't have been doing it for 6 months, but suddenly they're there on your desk. So you think, I need to do it now. I need to do it now. No, you say, actually, we already have a work schedule. We will schedule yours in to be done on this date. And that's when we'll start our 30-day turnaround guarantee or whatever. We have a plan already. So you need to talk to them about that. Make sure that you're clear. Okay, the second section is about being more productive. Okay, so the areas I want to cover about in this are your environment, prioritizing meaningful work, urgent versus important, and stop trying to multitask and have a plan. So your environment, okay, it's really important. Whether you're working in the office or working at home, it's really important if you could start the day with a clear desk. I understand it. If you've seen mine, by the middle of the day, impossible, okay? But what I try to do is at certain points of the day, I try and clear it. So in the morning, it comes cleared. At lunchtime, I clear it again. And before I leave, I try and clear it and put on the desk the things that I know I'm going to start the next day with. So it's ready. There's that phrase, a tidy desk equals a tidy mind. Now, I know for most of us, that means we've got a very untidy mind, but that's fine. It's about making it a space that you feel happy working with. The second thing is make it personal to you, okay? This is your space. It needs to feel comfortable for you to work in. You need to make sure you've got no distractions from things. So, if there's things that are a mess around you that you can see out of the peripheral vision of and it just distracts you constantly, shift them out of the way, get rid of them, clear them, put them in a cupboard, whatever you need to do, and make it personal. So have something around you that will remind you of why you are doing your job, whether that's a photo of your family, if that's important to you, whether that's a photo of the golf course, because that's where you want to end up by, and have your Fridays doing, whether it's a picture of your boat that you want when you retire, whatever it is, remind yourself and make it personal. And, there's a lot of motivational stuff that you can get and put around your walls, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be whatever it is that makes you feel safe, makes you feel focused in your space. And that might be a special pen that you always have, or a little china ornament or something, but it's yours. It makes it personal because it's your space. Okay, focus. Like I said, remind yourself why you're doing this. So going back to your goals, why are you doing this? What is it? We do a lot about your why, don't we, in positioning. What is your why? Why are you doing this? What is your business there to achieve for you, for your clients, for your team, for the world? Remind yourself why you're doing it. So those pictures I said, to make it personal or whatever, connect it to your why, okay? If as a team you've created your values and your why, have that up. Remind yourself, okay, what you're doing. It's important. The other thing is about quiet space. I know some people love working in noise. Some people love working in quiet. If you're a noise person, please wear headphones, okay? There are a lot of people who need quiet for really focused work. I find that if I'm doing some really, really in-depth, need my head down, I need it to be quiet. If I'm doing stuff that involves me thinking a little bit in my medium energy stuff, I can have some gentle music or white noise, voices going on. I have Radio 4 Extra on or something that be in the background that just distracts my mind from other things and makes me focus. You choose, but you do need some quiet space for focusing on. The other thing is you might want to have different spaces for different activities. So for example, you might choose that actually you go into the office to be working on client files, You work at home to be working on your business, on your roadmap workbooks, okay? Because there's a compliance section and then there's a working on my own business. That might be good to have a physical change in space. It might be you do your emails in a different space than you do your working, your focus work on. And again, sometimes that physical changing of space helps you stay focused, helps you be more productive. Okay. It's really important that you prioritize meaningful work. Okay. The ultimate goal of time management is to spend more time on the things that matter. So you've got core work, which is what you need to do for your role in the practice. In an ideal world, that's how you spend most of your time. And the rest. So there's lots of stuff that's supporting, but you don't necessarily scheduling today, like emails and phone calls and sometimes even multitasking. Okay, you need to focus. So the meaningful work, I need you to think about, again, what is important. Back to your goals, and being careful as well, not to think that goals are over here and your day-to-day work is over here. The point is to make the connection, isn't it? How does your business deliver your goals? And understand that. So when you're doing your work, when you're focusing your time, you are aware of how it's moving you towards the goal. And to start prioritizing ruthlessly, really be really ruthless with what you're doing with your time, and be really focused. So if you have got time that actually is working on towards your goals, and that can be obviously just getting accounts out, because that's important too. You need to get the accounts out. You need to make sure that the clients are happy. You need to make sure you can have your meetings with them and all the rest of it. That's great. But and you're going to focus on that, so you need no distractions. So be careful. And again, this is something else, thinking about it. We talk about Pareto all the time. In Clarity, we talk about actually sitting down and doing the 80-20 on your clients to work out who is the most profitable and where do you get the most money from. And you say, oh, usually the majority of your income comes from 20% of your clients, or your profit comes from 20% of clients. What if you did it on your time? 20% of your efforts tends to produce 80% of your results. So what's happening to the other 80% of your efforts? Don't beat yourself up, I guess, is what it's saying here, is that sometimes there is time when you're not getting the results you want, and that's fine, as long as you have focused so that you've got that 20% of your time is producing a result. Okay, be aware of it. Don't try and do everything. That's what I said earlier. You can't do everything. Think about how you can prioritize it. We all know about the Eisenhower matrix. This is the urgent versus and important. And again, this is in the Clarity workbook. Thinking about all the tasks you do and working out how important and urgent they are. Okay. And again, being aware that you need to think about when a client comes in and says something is important and urgent, actually, is it? Be understand, find out from them, why is it urgent? Oh, well, it's not really, I just thought I'd like it. Why is it important? Well, actually, I need it to go and get a Sybil's loan. Fine, then let's get on with it. That's the sort of thing you need to think about, don't you? So here, just again, depending on which part of that grid your task falls, important and urgent, they have to be done now, okay? Important and non-urgent, these are usually the ones that help you towards the goals. And often people put these aside, and that's when you start treading water as a business and you don't move forward and you start getting frustrated that nothing's happening. And so the important thing here is to make sure that you schedule time for them, okay? They're very important, but they're not urgent. So I can tell you that doing the 80-20 on your client base is really important, but you'll tell me it's not urgent because I've got too much work on at the moment. But actually that is important, because what it'll do is help you focus how you spend your time, because you should be spending your time on that 20% that's earning you the most income, not the 80% that usually take up the most of your time but are not actually profitable. So you can start making conscious choices, conscious decisions about what you're doing. Obviously you've got not important but urgent, and these are distractions. This is where people interrupt you, or it's urgent, I need to fix this, but when you look at it, it's not that important. So that's where you can start delegating stuff, okay? Because it's not actually important that you do it. And if you can get systems in place or delegate, then they should remove. And again, finally, not important and not urgent. Why are they there? We get a lot of those that we still do anyway, and they need deleting. We need to get rid of those. Are they things we're doing? And again, as a business, what happens is we evolve and we do things a certain way because it's evolved that way. And and part of what we're trying to do with you at AVN is to make you stop and go, actually, is this the best way? Why are you doing this? Is this important? Is this urgent to the client, to you, to your business? No, why are we doing it then? Let's have a look at those things. We all talk about multitasking, and there's a standard thing, isn't there? Apparently women can multitask better than men. It's a lie. Sorry, ladies, but it is. Again, I've been doing a lot of research into this, and it is a lie. And the reality of it is actually multitasking, being able to do more than one task at a time, is a myth too. Because if you think you can split your attention between multiple tasks, you aren't actually getting any more done. In fact, you're often more stressed, and you're performing worse than people who are just single task focused. So single tasking, actually staying focused on one thing and just saying to everybody else, I'm sorry, can you just wait? I'll be available in 30 minutes. Hold on. Can actually reduce you less stress. So if your team know that you're tasking and that you need to be focused, and you say, do you know what? Okay, we'll have a meeting at 9. It will last 15 minutes. Then I will check in with you at 11. Anything you want to ask me, put on Slack at 11 o'clock. I will check Slack and I will answer you back. So maybe that's or whatever the medium you choose to use. But you're giving you single tasking is less stress because you're not constantly thinking about all those other things that people are throwing at you. Okay? Because when you try and do extra stuff, you get exhausted, you get behind. And you start worrying about all those things you haven't managed to finish because you got interrupted to help somebody else do something else. And in your head, you've got this load of stuff on you. Okay? So if you can focus on one thing at a time, you can actually get into that state where you're focused and finish it. And, you know, as accountants, we love to be able to finish, to tick that we've done it. That means that can reduce our stress levels, because what I'm finding is more and more, we're not finishing stuff and we are getting more and more stressed about it. Single tasking makes you focus on what you should do, not what you could do. Again, this is about actually making sure that you focus your attention. And that means saying no to a whole bunch of other tasks, okay? And this helps you prioritize your most important work, make sure the most important stuff gets out, but also rebuild your focus. I can hear you all thinking, this is all lovely, Emma, but I'm constantly still having clients want stuff. We've talked about this. We need to manage those clients, okay? We need to keep it focused. Doing one thing at a time can make you more creative. And it's interesting that, isn't it? Because, sorry, just jump forward. But actually telling somebody they've got 20 minutes to come up with an idea, often having that timeline can mean that people start thinking differently, start, you know, creating ways of doing it. So if I said to somebody, okay, and actually I've seen, what was I watching the other day? I can't remember. I was watching something and they said, you've got 15 minutes to do this job. Nope, you've got 10. I want it done in 10 minutes. And actually then it makes you think much more creatively about how you can change it. And that can affect your systems and your processes, because if you can say to somebody, you know, this job normally takes you, you know, usually takes you an hour. I want you to do that in 40 minutes. What do you need to change to be able to do it in 40 minutes? That's when they start thinking about systems and processes. It's really important. It's really important to plan, okay? Create a daily schedule with dedicated time for focus work. I know it's not easy, but you need to start being really strict with yourself, okay? As I said, limit your email time and work in bursts. So, you know, Shane likes the Pomodoro technique, which is 20 minutes, okay? I think that can work for some people. Some people actually, they like to have an hour, 90 minutes, whatever you feel is your like best creative thing for a burst, but knowing that there is a stop point, at some point you have to stop, okay? The other thing with that burst is actually just making sure that it is timed, that you do have structure in that as well, because you need to come out of it. Block distracting websites when you want to focus. So, okay, you know, please don't have LinkedIn open. Please don't have other things open. Just keep focused and make sure you have periods of focus and periods of breaks. As I said earlier, that energy at work, all about having break, having exercise, having water, having, you know, sugar-free foods, those sorts of things. So it's really important that you plan your day. The third thing I think is about sharing the load fairly and with confidence, okay? So the important thing for me is to think about, how do you share the load? Because so many of us, we feel bad about it, okay? So we're going to think about the right person for the job, systems and processes, delegating effectively, feeling comfortable asking for help, which is the bit that we're not so good at, are we? One of the things that I was taught when I first joined AVN is to think about what I do. And I used to have a little laminated sheet on my desk, and I'm not at work at the moment, so I don't have it. I'm at home, but it was really important. So this is what it said. Whenever you pick up a job, the first thing you say is, how critical is this task? And then the next thing, how important is it that I do it? Because I might not be the only person with the skills to do this task. So why should it be me? If it's not me, then who is the best person to do this task? So there could be somebody else who could do this task. Is there a system or a training video for this task? Because if there was, I could pass it on to anybody who had enough initiative to take it on. So what is the fastest way to do the task or to create the system? Now, if we do the task, I will probably still have to do the task again another time. If I can create the system, even while I'm doing the task this time, then I can pass it on to somebody else next time. Or if I can do the task with somebody else next to me writing the system, asking me what I'm doing, thinking about it, asking all those stupid questions that we were talking about, that actually is the ones we always forget when we're explaining to people what to do it, then we have the system. A lot of what we do at AVN, actually, when we're training people on our internal systems, we'll just video it. We'll just use Zoom and record ourselves doing it. Do a screen share, record it, and go, this is what you do. And we'll have it transcribed for people who prefer to read. But actually, there's a way of doing it. So thinking about that, who is the right person for the job? Because it's natural as business owners and people, or the senior managers in businesses, that we take on the responsibility and go, we'll do it. Okay. But actually, if you're doing it, should somebody else be doing it? Is it part of their role or job? On a slightly flip side, the other thought we had was about a task sheet. Okay, so for every task you have, you need to grade it. So first of all, only I can do it because I have the expertise, the authority, it's confidential, and I need to be able to deal with it. Okay, so they could be A, and we could do this on cards, a task on a card. So, it might be green. Okay, B, I want to keep it, and it's affected me to do so. I know there are loads of jobs that you love doing, and part of you thinks, you know what, somebody else could do that, and that's fine. Some of them, I think you do need to let go. Some of them, if you have a great relationship with that client and there is something special about what you do and it's effective for you to do it, and therefore also it's still financially viable for you to do it, keep the work. We're at work to enjoy it. I don't want to give you a whole load of stuff where you think, oh God, Emma's making me do all this stuff and I hate it. No, do the stuff you love. That's the whole point. Okay. And there'll be some of you, your practice owners, who actually, what they love, it's different for all of you. Some of you love doing tax investigations. Some of you love doing management accounts. Some of you love doing meeting clients. Some of you, love doing really challenging things where you have to go and really research for hours. You're all different, and that's the beauty of it. Okay, keep the things you love doing, but it still has to be profitable. Okay, so be aware of that. So yes, I'm happy for people to do jobs that they want to do and they want to keep. Why not? C is delegate it. Okay, so if there's a task, and actually thinking about it, anybody could do this if there was a system or a process. I don't need to keep this. I've not got any real emotional connection to it, or actually it's not something that I love doing, absolutely love doing. Then actually we could delegate it, or we could contract it out, as long as we systemize it. So having a process for that. Again, so that's another way of doing it. And then the fourth column is D, deadline for removal of a task from our system. So if you've got a task and you know what, I don't actually want to have it in my business, I don't need to do it, then how do we remove it from the systems? Can we make sure it's done? Is that a case of actually, because there's some tasks, actually, it could just be an automation process, couldn't it? And then once it's automated, it's out of our system, it's done. But there are lots of things to do. So 2 different ways of looking at tasks, but more importantly, looking at your control over those tasks. making sure that what you're doing, and we keep going back to this, Gerber says, a business owner should be doing the things that only the business owner can do, okay? They should be able to train everybody else to do the rest of the stuff. And I'm not saying the rest of it is any better or worse than what the business owner's doing. It's different. You follow your own skill set. You follow your own vision of your goals. You move it towards it. That's what you need to be doing, whatever it takes to move your business towards your goals. That's the focus. Okay. So thinking about a system or a process, there's some key things I just want to bring about, because I see people say that I've got a system for something, and basically it's a to-do list, and it's not always, I don't think, complete enough to make it work as something that you can delegate and give to somebody else. So the most important thing about a system or a process is the result. What you expect is the outcome. And when you name that system, please rate a name that meets the outcome, and don't put a how to on it, because every system then starts with how to. You know, you need to have a system that does something, okay? So be really clear about what is the result of the system or process, and give it a clear name that anybody looking at that name would know what the outcome, the result is going to be, okay? We talk about mapping the system in sequence, okay? And we talk about perhaps using something like Post-it notes, or, you know, other things like that, where you can just think out, how do I do this? And this is another thing where actually it's really good to do this as a team. Anybody that's involved with that system or process, getting them to help you map out it. I mean, the other things, if you're working all remotely, you don't need to do sticky notes. You could use something like Trello, couldn't you? That's just like sticky notes on a page, or whatever you like. And you can play with the sequence then, and make sure you can ask each other questions, you can work it out. And then you need to write the steps in a way that clearly communicates the work to do or the action to take. Okay? You don't need to do a fluff around it. What has to be done? What action needs to be taken? And also assign accountability by the position, not the person, okay? By the role that person in that business, not the person. Okay, and the reason for that is because the whole point of systems is that at any point somebody should be able to step in with enough knowledge and carry on and do it if somebody is off. So, if somebody needs to go off to look after a sick family member, somebody else can step in and manage 80% of that work without interrupting that person who's off looking after that sick relative. Okay, so that's about a role. So if somebody's doing bookkeeping for J Blogs & Co, and you've got systems about that, then somebody should be able to walk in and run that system for J Blogs & Co and get on with it. Okay. And the role is doing the bookkeeping, not Joanne's system. Okay. Think about timing, about expected timing. I get a lot of people complaining that they think that their team are not working fast enough. They often say to me, well, I think they should have been able to do that job in half an hour, and they've been on it 3 hours now. Okay. So put some timings in there. Okay. You might need to say that this is stuff that needs to be done. So it could be timing for individual steps, or it could be timing for projects. So the timing for the steps, you could say, right, in order to do this bookkeeping, we expect you to take this amount of time. Okay. Please tell us if it doesn't, because we've obviously got our pricing wrong. Okay, because we need to keep this job profitable. Or it might be actually there's certain things that need to be done at a certain time of the month or the year or whatever. So for example, payroll might need to be done, on the 30th of every month, except for February obviously, and needs to be done by 4 p.m. or whatever it is. So you just choose whatever it is, but you can put that in. So put some timings in because it's quite important. The other thing with systems is you need to think about the resources you'll need. Okay, it's all right saying, oh yeah, I've got a system, but actually thinking about it, a lot of the questions that you often get when a new person joins your business is actually around resources. Where do I find? Which piece of software do I use? Where do I get the information from? Who can I ask for help? So identify the resources you'll need. So the team, the workspace, the equipment people will need, software they need to know about, any information, and the level of knowledge the person following the system already has. So you need to be about that, okay? And you might need to expect that. So you might need to say, you know, somebody stepping into this system will need to have this level of knowledge. So for example, may need to understand Xero to do the bookkeeping. Okay, if you don't understand Xero, then please find somebody who does. Okay. So you need to do that. Decide how you'll measure the system. How will you know you're getting the results you want? That's really important, making sure that we're clear on that. And set standards for system performance and team behavior within the system, okay? So again, I've had a few instances recently about team not behaving appropriately when they've been out at clients' premises. So, you know, if the system is going out and doing bookkeeping on our client premises, then we expect, obviously, this system to be followed, this amount of output. We expect you to dress in professional work clothes. We expect you to be courteous at all times. If you have any issues at all with the client, we expect you to ring us rather than you try and deal with it yourself. Okay, and then put this all in writing. If you can, add action plans, videos, checklists, screenshots, anything that helps. Okay, so this is the important thing about systems. We do an awful lot more about this in automation, but right from clarity, right from the beginning, we're saying, let's get some systems in place to make your life easier, to free up your time. So thinking about that, what things in work annoy you now? Okay, what would be the perfect outcome? So what are the steps to get and choose that perfect outcome? Think about that. So back to, we've just done the important urgent, we've done the what I actually do list. What other systems can you start putting in place with your team being involved? Because if they're involved and they understand the why the system has to be done the right way, they will deliver it. If they don't understand the why, they'll just go off and do it their own sweet way. So, you know, make sure that's connected. But it could be really, it could save so much time for you. Okay. Now, we all know this cartoon, don't we? About the monkey, how an employee comes in with a monkey, an idea, a challenge on their back, and they come in and they discuss it with you, and there is the monkey straddling the pair of you. And then all of a sudden, boss, you say, do you know what? I'll help you with that. And all of a sudden, the monkey's on your shoulder too. And before you know it, you've got everybody's monkeys, everybody's challenges. And the team are quite happy, getting on, gelling along, doing their 9 to 5. And you're working all hours God sends, stressed as hell because you've got all these things to deal with. I don't want you to be doing like that. So the important thing is about understanding that and being able to bounce it back by sharing what the job is and delegating it. And that's where a lot of the initiative ladder comes in that I've talked about, that this is the video in System Builder. But you need to start delegating work. I don't want you to be having monkeys brought to you. I want you to be giving monkeys to them, things that they can do. But to do that and feel confident that you're going to be able to do it properly, you need to delegate effectively. So you need the systems, okay? You need to understand what is the outcome, okay? And in System Builder, you can see there's an action resource called Effective Delegation. It's a brilliant, brilliant resource. And I just want to run through it very quickly because, again, this is something that helps you feel confident and when you're handing over to somebody else, rather than feel guilty that you're handing over to somebody else or feeling worried that they're not going to do a good enough job for you. Okay, so identify the jobs that you can delegate. We've already looked at that. Okay, what else can we systemize or delegate? Okay, now we need to think about how much does the individual know or need to know about the project to be delegated and its background. Okay, so is it something actually they could be involved with developing, or, you know, can they just get on with it? Do you care how they do the job or just that the job gets done? So some of us like to have things done our way, and that's fine. Others, it doesn't matter as long as the outcome is there, as long as the thing that the client wants is done. Again, you need to decide about that. If the how it's done is important, then you need to have a system, and see that is ensure they don't miss anything. And ask them to review that system. Make sure that it's reviewed as they do stuff. You need to think about how much support you will give them along the way. Okay, because as you're delegating a job, you do want to have ways of supporting them. But again, this is not about you doing the job. So if you're not going to be able to support them, who else can they go to for support? Who else can they learn? And what's the outcome? So you need to describe the project you're delegating, what it'll look like. How do you see it? How will others describe it? How will it make your customers feel? to me, one of the biggest things that we forget to do is connect what our team are doing to how the customer feels about it, whether we're saving them time, earning or saving them money, removing them stress, whatever. We forget to connect our team to that, because everybody wants to make a difference. Everybody wants to do worthwhile work. So let's make them connect to that, okay? They need to understand why it's important. What's the bigger picture? Sometimes it's obvious, okay, to you, but it isn't always appreciated by them. So please explain it. That's important. And then what are the standards? How are you going to find out it's done properly? So when you're doing work for customers, are you ensuring you get customer feedback regularly to check that you're doing it? With the task, when does it need to be done? Is that realistic, achievable? What happens if it isn't done by then? What are the consequences? Again, I don't think we actually connect our team to consequences enough, okay? We need to explain to them why we need this job done at this time, why we need them to take this much time, but also why it needs to be done in that sort of detail. It's not just about doing it fast, is it? It's about doing it accurately. It's about making sure that what the customer gets is something that they value. So connecting, that's really important. And making sure that within that, there are milestones, there are ways of checking in, there are things that we can do. Sorry, I've just accidentally knocked the chat box. Yes, I will make my slides available. Okay. So creating milestones is really important. It's a checkpoint, isn't it, to make sure that everything's done. And then finally, delegate the task. Here's a little document that's in System-ill again, just writing this down in a sort of sections that people can understand so they can see what's going on. So it's really important. So thinking about feeling comfortable asking for help. There are some of us that are tellers, and some of them that are askers, and some of us that are avoiders for asking for help, okay? You need to understand your team, first of all, but also you need to remember your boss. So what happens is you need to be looking at your team and thinking, I have employed these people. Who gets paid for this task to be done? Okay? Who is actually, is it part of what I employ them to do? It might not be something, it might be something new, but actually it's still part of what their role is. Okay? So thinking about roles and responsibilities is important. Thinking about accountabilities. Thinking about who gets paid for this task being done. Because if you're doing it, then you're costing a huge amount more to that business, your business, than they are. And actually they're not learning, and they need to learn and grow, okay? So really think about this, be focused, okay? You're not asking them for help as such, you're asking them to do something that they should be doing. Okay, it might be new to them, but this is something that will help them grow, and positioning it that way. I've got a great new task for you. This is what it's all about, and you've got your delegation sheet explaining it all. I really think you're the right person who can do this. Are you up for it? Is a good way of getting some people to do things, isn't it? Please don't do that thing where you do it in a group environment and you say, is anybody up for doing this? Because nobody will put their hand up, or everybody will, depending on how great your team is. Actually pick somebody that you think would be the right person. The thing I also get here all the time is, I'm too busy. I'm busy, but they're too busy too. They're exhausted. They're working so hard. They're just much too busy. Well, if they're too busy, then they're not being the most effective about their job either, are they? Okay, they need to look at what they're doing. They need to step back. Maybe somebody needs to review what they're doing and how they're spending their time. So all that stuff I spoke of right at the very beginning, maybe that your team should be doing, looking at their energy levels, looking at what they actually do, switching off emails at certain parts of the day, switching off Facebook until lunch break, making sure that they've got focused time on their work, knowing who they can go to for help and when, not just interrupting everybody, but having set times. It's amazing when you do that, when you say to somebody, do you know what? I'm available, but I'm not available for another 10 minutes. Could you just come back? Usually by the time they come back in 10 minutes, they actually have a recommendation of how they could fix it. I've been thinking about that, and actually I think we could do this, or I just went and did it. Is that okay? And it's amazing. So please don't think they're too busy. They are not your children. They are your employees. Okay. Yes, we need to look after them. And you know that more than anything, I am passionate about looking after team and about people in particular. But, you know, don't take on work and yourself because you think your team are too busy. One of the great things that we do about in the Clarity Workbook is we grade your clients, don't we? And we look at, you know, who are the best clients, who are the most profitable clients. We do the 80-20 principle on your clients, and we start looking at where we spend our time. And the team need to be aware of that. The team need to know that if one of your D clients is shouting, they need to come to you first before they jump and answer that client, okay? Because that D is not paying for your team to be at their beck and call, okay? So there needs to be discussions about that. So be aware of that, be careful about that. When you think about when from your team need to think about, what does your firm do? What does it deliver? And how can they add to that? Bring that into them. Do you know what? I've got a great task. I've got an idea, but I know you do stuff. I know that you've got things that you do outside of work, things that you've been doing for your CPD that actually could make that even better, this system even better. What could you help me with? How could you make that better? See it as a positive way of growing them and the business. Found this quote, instead of prioritizing, delegating, saying no, and being smart with our time, we obsessively say yes. We overcommit on our daily tasks and we work longer hours to catch up. The actions and choices you make today have a compounding impact on how much time you have in the future. I remember a very smart man saying to me, whenever you're saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And are you clear about that? So when you say no, you're only saying no to one option. When you say yes, you're saying no to every other option because you're staying focused. So no is a decision, yes is a responsibility. And it's true, if you say, yes, I'll do that, you take on the responsibility. And unfortunately, that means everything else gets parked, everything else gets worried about. So be careful what and who you say yes to. It will shape your day, your career, your family, your life. So right back at the beginning, I talked about the key things you need to do to look after yourself. And I think it's really important that we think about, just stop the share. We think about how we spend our time, how we focus our time, and make sure that what we're doing is important and relevant. Right, has anybody got any questions? Because I'm done. Thank you, Gareth. Anybody got any questions? Anything they would like to add to what I've said? Anybody who's got some really great ideas that they've been doing to make sure that they are spending their time more productively, looking after themselves mentally?
Well, from my point of view, I share Gareth's sentiment there. I thought it was a fantastic session, so well done. Please share your sentiments as well in the chat box, everybody. I think one thing to add from my point of view is, I mean, you know, I completely agree with everything Emma said, and I've written various chapters about this stuff myself in my book, and it's just, and I might be stating the blatantly obvious here, but this is not an easy discipline to maintain, but it is incredibly powerful and will keep your productivity levels massive when you are maintaining it, but it's so easy to fall off the rails. And the irony is, of course, the more things that we feel we've got on our list, the less likely we are to stick to that, and therefore it takes us longer to get through it all. So, you know, I think it's important just to get into that. I won't say habit. I mean, I've been doing this for years. He's never formed a habit naturally. You know, I fall off the rails, and I have to consciously force myself back onto them, and it can happen to us all. So I think that's just my caveat to this: is it is a great strategy to use, but it's something you have to be consciously doing all of the time. So
I'd just like to add, please use your practice growth expert, okay? Their job is to keep you on track. Their job is to help you focus on the really important things. That's what you should be deciding at the end of your call, the 3 actions or whatever that are the most important. But they can also help you, keep on track with other things. So please use them as much as you can to help with that.
Good stuff. Right, okay, wonderful messages in the chat box for Emma. So again, well done from my point of view to you, Emma. I thought that was fantastic. And thanks everybody. Well, it's exactly 1:30, so we'll call it a day at that. So all the best, everybody. Hope you have a great week and hope to see you on Thursday. And I can see some visual applause in there as well for you. Well done. All the best, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Bye-bye.